February is almost here, and that means adventure is right around the corner. My name is Kodiak, this is Legacy Gaming, and here are 10 new games we think are worth checking out this February. Kickstarting a jam-packed February is Granblue Fantasy Relink. This game is coming to the PlayStation 4 and 5 as well as PC after years of success captivating players on mobile. The game takes place in the Sky Realm, a world where floating islands expand as far as the eye can see. Together with your crew, you sail across the islands, completing quests and hunting powerful creatures known as primal beasts. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not a huge fan of Eastern RPGs, but Granblue Fantasy looks absolutely stunning. I am a sucker for high fantasy, and that's exactly what each Skyfarer brings to the table, an arsenal of flashy abilities in a world filled with monsters and magic. Players can customize a 4-person party, which also includes co-op play. Each Skyfarer that joins your crew has access to their own unique set of skills, which can be customized based on your party's needs. Mastery of both offensive and defensive skills will give you tons of options, but you can only equip 4 skills to use with each character during combat. Like many games in the genre, the enemies you fight are often larger than life, but a number of unique systems such as link attacks and chain bursts will help you tackle even the toughest opponent. By tapping into the power of your team and their abilities, you can synergize massive attacks that deal huge damage. The action combat looks fast-paced, and when combined with multiple characters and a slew of enemies, Granblue Fantasy Relink certainly looks impressive. Rocksteady, famous for the Batman Arkham games, is finally ready to release their next big superhero game, Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. The game has been delayed after relatively loud criticism following some of its initial reveals, but the team says it's ready to finally pull the trigger. In Suicide Squad, players can take control of Harley Quinn, King Shark, Deadshot, or Captain Boomerang as they work together to hunt down and kill the Justice League, who have become brainwashed by Brainiac. A staple of the action is traversal, which is wildly exaggerated, giving players that true superhero experience. Each character has their own unique way of getting around, such as Harley's grappling hook or Deadshot's jet boosters, but at the heart of the system is an ambition to make it easy to move around the world. The game itself will play much like a classic open-world RPG, with players completing quests, leveling up, allocating talent points into various skill trees, and upgrading their gear. There was a lot of blowback around the overuse of guns that didn't quite fit the theme of the characters in the game, and it doesn't look like the team is necessarily shying away from that. Players can work with the Penguin back at the Argus base to upgrade and customize gear to fit a specific playstyle, but how far that system extends, we just don't know. What is clear is that the team is introducing, or in some cases, reintroducing, some existing DC characters into the universe, such as Poison Ivy, now called Ivy. Completely rewritten as a young genius biochemist, it's going to be fascinating to see how she and other characters like Gizmo and Toyman fit into the overall landscape of Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. No matter how you feel about the gameplay, this is certainly one to watch because the Rocksteady team's reputation is definitely on the line. What do you think? Is Suicide Squad looking like a game you'll play in 2024? Drop us a line below and share your thoughts. If there's one game on this list I hope you all consider checking out, it's Helldivers 2. This is the sequel to the 2015 game called Helldivers, and it's easily one of my favorite games of that year, and still one of my favorite co-op games of all time. The game's premise is simple: assemble a squad of elite soldiers, drop onto the surface of an overrun planet, and kill everything indiscriminately. This time around, Helldivers is completely going for a new perspective, changing from a top-down view to a true third-person view, which is absolutely game-changing. The action looks much the same as it did in the first game, with players able to load into missions with set loadouts. Each player comes equipped with weaponry, but also powerful call-ins such as orbital bombardments, heavy weapons such as the recoilless launchers, and a classic, the Gatling turret. Helldivers 2 is co-op, with up to 4 players dropping in during each mission, and that's really when the game is going to be its absolute best, when you and a few friends can take on swarms of enemies and sow a little chaos of your own. And just a friendly tip from a Helldivers veteran here, watch out because there is friendly fire. What I'm truly interested to see is how the formula will change within the new game. The perspective shift is huge, but what else does Helldivers 2 bring to the table? More enemies, different weapons, new customization options, those are the big questions at this point. Needless to say, no matter what happens, the Legacy Gaming team will be dropping in on day one, so be sure to keep it right here if this is a game you want to check out. Known for games like Life is Strange and Vampire, Don't Nod is taking a crack at an entirely new genre with Banishers Ghost of New Eden, an action RPG where your decisions will have dramatic consequences. You play as two Banishers, experienced spirit hunters tasked with lifting an ominous curse. Throughout your travels, you'll have to investigate, interrogate, and make critical decisions involving the people and spirits that you meet. Things aren't always black and white, and your actions are said to directly impact what happens later on in the game. Everything ties back to stories of love, betrayal, suffering, and secrecy, and tapping into Red's physical capabilities and Antia's supernatural ones, you'll have to navigate a corrupt world, lay waste to unnatural and ethereal enemies, and ultimately find a way to reunite the Banishers. In true RPG fashion, you'll be able to upgrade both Red and Antia's abilities through a number of items and skills. Items such as outfits and rifles provide Red with new ways to deal with enemies in the Eternal Realm, while amulets and rings give Antia expanded powers while unleashing her supernatural abilities. It's a really neat duality, one I don't think we've seen play out quite like this in previous games. It takes something familiar, the fantasy RPG, and injects some new ideas into the mix that might just resonate with players. Focus Entertainment rarely publishes bad games, and with the seasoned team at Don't Nod behind the development of Banishers, I have a sneaking suspicion this could be a surprise hit of 2024. After multiple delays and a ton of negative backlash, it seems like Ubisoft's open-world naval battle game, Skull and Bones, is finally coming out. Revealed all the way back in 2017, the game has been in development much longer than that. Stemming from the gameplay in Assassin's Creed IV Black Flag, players have longed for a true pirate RPG. So will Skull and Bones be that game? Now let's be clear, this is a naval combat game, and the one thing that's never been on the table is boarding other ships and hand-to-hand combat. That might be a huge miss for some players, myself included, but the naval action does look pretty damn fun. Players will have the ability to customize their ship with various types of cannons, and each fits a different type of role within combat. Long guns are there to deal high damage from far away, while demi-cannons act more like shotguns, able to deliver insanely high damage from close distance. You will have to make port in order to upgrade your ship, unlock new upgrades, and accept quests, but outside of that, your time on land will be limited. Sailing the Indian Ocean is the name of the game here, and along the way, you'll be able to team up with other players in co-op or take them head-on in PvP skirmishes. I don't think we need to parse words here. Skull and Bones will definitely not be for everyone, but so long as we're clear-eyed about what the experience truly is, an open-world naval combat game, I think there's a good group of players out there that will have a decent time sailing the high seas. If you're looking for a new game that's a bit off the beaten path, then perhaps the Thaumaturge is your speed. Set in 20th century Warsaw, you play as Victor, a thaumaturge, a person with the ability to see and interact with unearthly entities known as salutors. The game is story-driven, with Victor returning to the streets of Warsaw to settle family matters, but his family's legacy as thaumaturges becomes intertwined with his affairs. The game features a unique, almost cinematic approach to turn-based combat, and I'll be honest, it's great to see a fresh perspective on this genre, even if the action is all the same familiar. Blending together Victor's hand-to-hand combat with the Salutor's eternal abilities certainly makes for an interesting combination, and that's just the action we're talking about. Outside of the action, the game also boasts unique investigative mechanics that will progress the story forward. As Victor becomes more in tune with the various Salutors that eventually fall under his control, it's clear that his two worlds, both earthly and ethereal, are interconnected. As a story-driven game, the developers promise players to make key decisions that are not always clear-cut, and those outcomes will shape the gameplay moving forward. I, for one, am intrigued by the Thaumaturge, and although Fool's Theory only has one other game under their belts, I am a huge fan of the publisher, 11-Bit Studios, who constantly backs high-quality games such as Children of Morta and Moonlighter. If they see something in the Thaumaturge, then I have no doubt this is a game to keep on your radar. We've been following the development of Nightingale for quite some time. This PvE co-op survival game takes place in an alternate Victorian era where players have been scattered across various deadly realms. The goal, at least during the early access release, is to survive long enough to activate magical portals and return to the fabled city of Nightingale, where the developers promise the adventure truly begins. Along the way, you'll have to survive, and that's no easy feat in the realms of the Fae, where creatures of all shapes and sizes are waiting just out of sight. It's a classic survival game, so you'll spend a good bit of time collecting resources, building a base, all while pushing deeper into the game. The Victorian setting gives the game a certain look and feel that almost everything is themed around. From the clothes your player will wear to the buildings they can construct, the theme is ever present in the experience. One aspect of Nightingale we think is pretty unique is the introduction of something called realm cards, which gives the player a modicum of control over the realms that they visit. By crafting and combining realm cards, players can tap into the portal network and manipulate the worlds that they visit. Not only will this give players control over the look and feel of the worlds that they explore, but it'll allow them to dictate to a degree the flora, fauna, and natural resources they could potentially discover. I love this aspect of the game and really hope the developers deliver because it's a system they could expand endlessly throughout early access and beyond launch. The team has also promised that quests will be at the center of the Nightingale experience, but not in the MMORPG sense. Realms will feature 1 or 2 larger set pieces, and those might include a boss fight or a linear quest. It's unclear exactly how many of these the team has created ahead of the early access launch, but it's certainly something we'll be keeping an eye on. As I said before, Nightingale is a PvE co-op survival game, so don't expect to run off destroying other players' bases, but if you're jonesing to smack some trees and take on some truly grotesque creatures with a friend or two, then this game might be for you. First released back in 2013, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is getting a much-deserved remake in 2024. The game is unique and emotionally resonant, telling the story of two brothers on a quest to find a cure for their ailing father. At the time, what set the game apart was its innovative control scheme, where players simultaneously controlled both brothers using the thumbsticks on their controllers. This mechanic was groundbreaking at the time and allowed players to form a deep connection with the characters as they navigated puzzles that required coordination between the two siblings. The game is being completely rebuilt from the ground up, with the characters, world, and even soundtrack all getting reworked to fit in the modern gaming landscape. Many have claimed that Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons transcends gaming entirely, opening up their eyes to gaming as an art form. I realize that type of experience might not be for everyone, but spend just a few minutes reading some reviews and you'll realize this game is special. At the heart of the game is a beautiful narrative that unfolds in real time as the two brothers explore a fantasy world rich with stunning landscapes in a captivating atmosphere. The brothers encounter both physical and emotional obstacles, reinforcing the game's central theme of a bond between siblings. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is still celebrated today for its emotional impact, compelling storytelling, and inventive gameplay mechanics, and hopefully a true remake will cement its legacy as an indie game for the ages. Star Wars: Dark Forces completely changed the landscape of gaming in 1995. The first-person shooter followed the protagonist Kyle Katarn, a former Imperial officer turned rebel agent tasked with stopping the Empire's dark plans. What really set the game apart was the fact that Dark Forces explored Star Wars outside of the main film narratives, something that's commonplace now but completely unheard of back in the mid-90s. Fast forward to February and Dark Forces is getting the remaster we never knew we wanted. Being developed by Night Dive Studio, known for games like System Shock and Turok, there's no doubt a trusted studio is running point on this project. Utilizing their proprietary KEX engine, the team claims the game will be playable on modern devices up to 4K resolution at 120 frames per second. The remaster will feature all 14 original levels, the ability to jump, duck, and crawl to solve puzzles, a personal digital assistant that provides in-game information such as maps, an inventory and mission briefings, and of course the myriad of weapons and upgrades the game originally deployed back in 1995. If you're looking for a shot of Star Wars nostalgia, look no further because Star Wars: Dark Forces is almost here. Rounding out our list is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which continues the epic story that left fans confused, awestruck, and absolutely pining for more. Part 1 took the story, known all too well by fans of Final Fantasy VII, and craftily deconstructed it to reveal a faithful yet mysterious retelling of the original narrative. Even though the entire story arc will be delivered over 3 games, the director was clear that Rebirth will be its own distinct game, assuring fans it will be more gripping and memorable than its predecessor. We are this close to launch and we've still only seen a glimpse of the overall game. What is clear though is that Rebirth is leaning much more into the open world concept, and that makes sense given the transition away from the more linear story contained within Midgar. As Cloud and the team expand their horizons, expect a much bigger world to explore, and even the return of chocobos to help us traverse the scaled-up environments. However, as with most Final Fantasy games, what else the team has in store for fans is a mystery. Players can expect the return of real-time action-oriented gameplay, but outside of that, the developers are keeping most systems pretty well under wraps. Like its predecessor, this will remain a PlayStation exclusive, but hopefully we'll see a move to the PC within a reasonable time frame. No doubt if you're a Final Fantasy fan already, you've most likely got this on your radar, and you're just a few short weeks from a new adventure. The first part of 2024 is shaping up to be absolutely jam-packed with cool games, but it's a long year and we've got many months to go. If you're interested in what else the future holds, then check out our Biggest Games of 2024 video, which maps out the entire year of hits that you might be interested in. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.